Look, the thing about self-belief, if you don't believe in yourself, it is almost disrespectful to expect someone else to believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect someone to believe in what you are trying to sell them or what you're trying to get them to support? Believing in yourself is loving yourself ultimately. Believing in yourself is knowing that some people run around, what is my purpose? Your purpose is to be and to create. It's not solely about what you do in life, because it's that whole saying, like, you're either going to be a human doing or a human being. And my whole thing is that I can be so content in just being happy, because that's my default setting. Yeah, you have things that happen that might be disappointing or whatever, but you have to, I always said one time, I say this all the time now, I will always be more than okay no matter what happens. That's how much I believe in myself.
Welcome, fellow entrepreneurs and goal-getters, to Entrepreneurial Elevation, Unleashing Greatness Within, with myself, your host, Kelly Beveridge, and my special guest today, Toni Rich. Really excited to have him on. He is an American Grammy Award-winning contemporary singer-songwriter, best known for his hit single, Nobody Knows. I was just telling him, myself and my brother used to listen to that song on repeat back in the day. It was released in 1995. Hit number 2 on Billboard's Top 100. He went platinum, and he won the Grammy for Best R&B Album for that song and for that album, actually, which is super awesome. Yeah. And he's about to release his 8th album. And what I love about Toni is he's still following his passion. He's still following his passion of music and art and creating and leaving an impact and leaving a legacy for his kids and the fans to follow and those people who find his message. And so I'm excited today. Actually, I want to share one other thing about Toni that I love. He has made one of my good friends super, super happy. She found love with Toni. And when I see my friends happy, I always love the people that contribute to that. So Toni, you rock for that reason too. Yeah. And just happy to have you on here today, Toni. So we're going to talk about the power of believing in oneself, believing in our vision and our goals and our dreams. And just thank you for taking time and being here with us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Oh my gosh, so cool. Toni, I want to know, because I've started businesses, I've started different careers, I've coached a lot of people. And usually when we get started and we acquire a vision and a dream and something that we're excited about for ourselves, one thing that's lacking is self-confidence and the belief in ourselves. Can you take us back to when did you first decide you wanted to be a musician and an artist? And how did you come out of the gates with all of this strong sense of belief?
The thing, when I think back on it, and I've told this story that almost sounds like a formula, right? But I realize that everybody has to develop their own unique formula based upon where they are and their understanding of the universal laws of attraction. So at a very early age, maybe I want to say around 12, maybe 11 or 12, I was really tapping into this. It was actually a portion of a scripture from the Bible that said, speak as if it were already. That stuck with me for some reason, because I was the type of person that would sit in church sometimes and I would try to get like, okay, what is this person? What's the real message? Because I would see these people around me and their reaction was something else. They were like reacting to the fanfare of things, but I'm trying to hear what's being said. And that stuck with me. So at a very early age, like before the age of 15, I was walking around my mother's house and I would say, I'm rich, Mom. And she would say, what? I said, yeah, I'm rich. You just can't see my money. And she says, I can see these bills and these bills need to be paid. I said, Mom, you'll see, just watch one day. I started saying that around 14. And then so I'm in high school in the marching band and I played tenor drum in the marching band, because once you start playing any instrument, every instrument is like attractive, right? So I was just like, oh, because I started out playing guitar first. Then I started playing keys. And then I got onto drums by way of the drum section in high school. So what I did was, I remember talking with my band teacher, Mr. Nicholson, and he said, so young man, so what you gonna do? You going to college? And I said, originally I had decided that I wanted to go to school for architecture design. because of the art thing. And I told him, I said, no, I changed my mind. He says, so what are you going to do? I said, you know what? I think that the way I see it, by the time all my classmates go to college and graduate from high school, go to college and study for the fields that they want to go into, I said, in that same amount of time, I'm going to be a professional in the music business. Told him that I was 15 years old. So he was like, and he chuckled, but it wasn't like he was laughing at me. I think what it was, I think he was impressed with my audacity to say something like that at that age. But what he did not know is that for a few years, I had been saying that, right? So I told him, I said, so that meant that I graduated in 1989. So that meant that 93 had to be the year. So I graduated high school and I'm going through it. I'm in Detroit and I'm hearing false promises here, there about, I felt like I was so close a couple times. And then here it was, March 1993. I get a call and it was a friend of mine that I had met in Detroit maybe a year and a half prior to that. He said, yo, when we get to Atlanta, we're going to hook you up. I said, all right, cool. And they did. They called and they linked me. And that's how I got my career started. And from that point on, it tasted so good to almost dare the universe to manifest exactly what I'm saying. Like I put my order in, I just want to see. So I would just test the waters. And so when it happened, everybody around me was like, wow. I wasn't surprised though, because I believed that my true reality was in my very near future. And my very near future had arrived.
Yeah.
And it felt so good to the point where my mom was looking like, even my mom from that point on, if I said I was going to do something, she believed it. Everybody around me, even now in my life, if I say something's going to happen, they know, oh, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love your story. Like the power of belief. I like to say how beliefs are created is by what we tell ourselves over and over and over again.
Over and over again.
And one of my mentors always says, visualize your success before you succeed. And that's just what you displayed. And I'm curious, you talk a little bit about your mom in there. And after she's like, okay, when Tony says he's going to do something, he does it. Yet, was it always that way? Like, did you grow up in a supportive family who had your back, or did they challenge your goals and dreams along the way?
Growing up, there was a mixture, right? So there was my mom's side of the family and then my father's side of the family. My father's side of the family, I have one cousin, two aunts, no uncles. My grandmother passed and my great-grandmother passed. So it was a very small family. On my mom's side, a bunch of cousins, I don't know, maybe 30 cousins. It was a lot. And what it was like growing up, my mother was very supportive in her actions. So this is a good example. My brother would say, Mom, can you take us to this recording studio? We want to work with this guy. She said, I'll take you, but you got to find your way back home. That was her way of saying, I'll help you, but you got to figure the rest out. And my mom would sit in the living room and watching her soap operas on TV. I would have my setup in the dining room. My brother Joe would have his setup in the bedroom upstairs, and we're both playing very loud music. And I don't know if you've ever listened to someone creating music, but it's like almost imagine hearing your favorite song, but strip it down to where you're only going to hear the drums for like 30 minutes over and over again, start, stop, start, stop. And so that whole process, but my mom had this ability to tune us out and focus on what she was hearing. And it gave her comfort to know where we were. It didn't concern her. She knew we were doing something creative, but so we always had that support. And then right before I moved to Atlanta to start my career, my father's youngest sister, my auntie Lynn, I called and asked her if she would co-sign on a loan of $10,000 so I could get this top-notch equipment that I needed. And she agreed. I paid the bill, but she did co-sign for me. And that helped me out because it gave me the equipment that I needed to be on the level of what I was hearing. And so over a course of like 2 years, I was able to just really, really get into the technical side of things. So by the time I got to Atlanta, I was ready.
Yeah.
But I had good support though.
I love that. And I'm thinking though, as you're speaking, I think a lot of times support comes from the power of our own conviction. And as you're talking, like you're going to your aunt saying, hey, like, could I borrow 10,000? Yet if you're self-belief wasn't strong and
What
high.
access?
Exactly.
No. No, because what would I have to base it on?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And this is what's so crazy. I was so committed to it. I believed in myself so much that here it was, I had this equipment and I could charge people to do tracks, but I didn't. I waited till the last 2 days of the month, and then someone would find me. I would find someone who needed a drum beat, and they'd say, how much you charge? And whatever my payment was that month, I told them it was that. I wasn't even trying to make more money. I was trying to generate more ideas with the equipment that I had. So I thought that was hilarious that I was just so focused on that. And then even right before I left, here's some belief. Right before I moved to Atlanta, the day before I moved to Atlanta, or 2 days before, my mom said to me, okay, son, you're 21. It's time. You've had your 3-year grace period in so many words, but you got to go tomorrow. I got to move out. And so what do I do the day before I'm supposed to move out? I go over to my girlfriend's house that time, and I'm talking with her, and she had a weird vibe. I just felt like wherever I went, it just didn't feel settled. So then I was getting ready to leave her place, and I called my friend if he could pick me up, because I caught the bus out to my girlfriend's house. So he says, look, man, yeah, I can come by, but me and my brother and my sister, we're out filling applications, like job applications. You want to fill out some applications? I said, no, bro. I said, I'm a musician. If it's not music, I can't do it. I'm not doing it. He said, all right, picks me up, and I ride with them, and I watch them fill out applications. And then when I got home that day, my baby brother, he says, somebody from Atlanta, somebody named Tim from Atlanta called you. That was the guy that said they were going to hook me up. So I said, really? He said, yeah. He said he's going to call back. He calls back, and I hear him. He said, yo, we about to hook you up. The very next day, I was in Atlanta. Now, here's another thing. I was telling my mother for a year prior to that. No, 2 years. So maybe a year before I met the guys that told me they want to link me to Atlanta, I was saying that I was going to move to Atlanta. I didn't know why. I didn't know anybody down there. And then I meet these guys, and they said they're on their way down to Atlanta. So you can see how it started to taste really, really good with yeah, I'm going to do this and then just let's watch it happen. And then it happened every time.
I love it. I love this one saying, it's like unwavering faith plus extraordinary effort equals miracles. And as you're sharing your story, it's like, of course, the day you need to be gone, right? You get the phone call. Yes. You're like, of course, that's how I roll. Right?
That's exactly it. Right at the last minute. It is funny because I have another story about that belief. Here it was, I do my first album that I recorded on, most of it was recorded on 4-track tape in my closet, in my apartment in Atlanta. We put this album out and it gets 4 Grammy nominations. So I do an interview with this journalist in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and she's asking me, she says, yes, you think you're going to win? And I look at her with so much confidence. I said, oh yeah, I'm winning. I'm not leaving there empty-handed. She says, really? I said, yeah, I got 4 nominations. I'm at least getting 1.
Yeah.
That's what I told her. So she's like, wow, you confident? I said, yeah, you have to be. You have to see it and believe it to be true. Get to the Grammy. I win Best R&B Album. And when I won Best R&B Album, I had an internal conversation in my head, and I said, I should have said all 4. But I'm the one that put the order in. I said, I'm not leaving empty-handed. I'm at least going to get 1. I got it.
That's awesome. Congrats. And isn't that interesting though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was one of those things. I just knew it. I don't know. It's like you feel it.
Yeah.
But you got to start visualizing it. What's that thing where, remember this guy, he started wearing suits and someone said, why are you wearing suits? He said, I'm dressing for the job that I want, not the job that I have. But me, I take it a step further. I was walking around my mother's house saying, I am rich, not that I'm going to be. I didn't say that I might win 1. I said, I am going to at least get 1 of those. I'm not leaving empty-handed. Even down to the manifestation of all sorts of things, like as a man, divine feminine energy is important to me. I was raised by women. And so to be around that energy Like I live with that now. My wife it embodies all of that. And back in 2007, I started speaking these affirmations of these are the types of women I have in my life. Not that I want, that I have, that they are successful. And when I say successful, that has nothing to do with money, that they are loving, they're embracing, they understand who I am, they love who I am, all these things. And then I just started watching myself over time meet that high vibe type of women because of my aunt, my mom, these women protected me and nurtured me. And so I started looking for those qualities in women that I would meet on the way. And so when it comes down to like my female friends, women I may do business with, all high vibe.
Yeah.
But I had to manifest that.
This is interesting. Speaking of manifestation, you speak really confidently, Toni, and I'm curious, what do you think it takes to become worthy of your goals and the things that you desire?
To be worthy of your goals, you have to first, you know what it is? I think at an early age, I embraced certain elements of myself. Like I knew that creating music was some type of magic because I could be sitting at my keyboard and there's nothing. And I put my hands on those keys. The next thing I'm channeling something. And whatever that something is, it is now a part of the universal orchestra of life. At some point, someone's going to play it. If they find it, they're going to play it. And it is participating in sound along with the birds and the wind and the trees and the rain. I just felt like, I don't know, I just always knew it. It's an amazing, magical feeling to create something with your hands and your mind. I just always felt purpose in that. Like this is what makes me unique, is my point of view. I asked someone that one time, I said, what is the most sacred thing about you? And it was a woman and she said something, my body. I said, no, that's not it. She said, why you said that? I said, because plenty of people have touched your body. She says, well, what do you think it is? I said, it's your point of view. It's how you see the world. It's how you even see yourself. It's how you view everything. And then I said, to take it a step further, I said to her, I can't even see myself the way you see me because your perspective is unique. When you go watch a movie or when you listen to a song produced, you are listening or watching someone's point of view of how they think that should go. And you're going to tap into it because it's going to seem real because you're actually watching it happen. And so that's how I look at my life. I create my life like it's a song, it's a movie. I look at the people in my life as cast members. They're playing a role. And guess what? Some people come into your life and they're awesome at improv.
Yeah.
They can just go with the flow. That's how me and Jenna are. We like that. It's like, I always say it. I say, you know what? I love discovering these new things about you because it's a part of you. I have to accept it. I love creative energy. And then when I see it in other people, it is beautiful to me because I know that it's unique to them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And I'm just thinking as you're speaking, this strong sense of self-belief that you have, obviously, in creating the magic through your craft and your music.
Yeah.
Was there a time when it was the only thing that was keeping you going, like the strong sense of belief? Did you go through some darker times? And I'm sure you went through obstacles. And was it the self-belief being the only thing based in the circumstances of what you might have been going through that was keeping you getting up every day? And maybe chat about that.
Yeah, it's like the first one was my father passed when I was 17. And I remember when my father passed, my aunt said, the thing your dad told me, one of the things that always brought him joy was to know that you and your brother were doing music. Because we did not know our father played music until one day he came over, because we thought we were just these musicians and it was just unique. We're the only ones in the family. He comes over and he can play better than we can. And so we were like, wait a minute. So we just didn't know. But when she said that, it felt so good to know that, okay, I was tapped in to what I was supposed to be doing. And now I'm trying to remember the other part of your question.
Just like, how has self-belief helped you through dark times?
So when my father passed, I was depressed for a couple of years. The thing that brought me out of that depression was to write about it in song. And I did that. My first album, Words, including the song Nobody Knows, is about my father. I just wrote an album about these different attributes about him. And that helped me accept the reality that my father had transitioned to this other dimension. It was like, so the music saved me. It kept me inside creating out of the riffraff and trouble in Detroit. It carried me to Atlanta. And then after my first album and I started going through these issues with the label, it became very dark, because here it was. At the age of 21, I started my career. By the time I'm 23, 24, I'm making more money than anybody in my family ever made. And then, so I get this 3 to 4 year run of this, like, I'm traveling all over the world, but I wasn't happy yet. I wasn't happy. I was experiencing financial and career success, but I was not happy. And then and this is so beautiful, it was like an explosion. I left the label because of creative differences, and then the label decided to lay out some obstacles for me to ever do what I wanted to do in music again. That was a dark time. When you're a creative and you're being somehow made to be very difficult for you to do what you've been doing, it is one of the worst feelings. And so what I decided to do was dig in deeper. It was just keep creating. So I come up with this new album called Resurrection. I find this new deal that comes out. And then one of my songs on that record wound up being covered by an artist in Brazil. And so I was just like, I just had to stick to it. I just never gave up, because I heard my Auntie Lynn say to me so many times, the very first time she took me to the airport to fly to Atlanta, she said, your gifts will make room for you. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You're not trying to hurt yourself. You will be fine. Your gifts will make room for you. So I said, yeah, you're right. And then my brother Joe called me one day and he said, and so I was going through this very dark period. And as a result of that, I was experiencing all these different financial difficulties. And then I went through the first time ever I experienced foreclosure of a house, repossession of a car. And I'm laughing, and my mother's saying to me, why are you laughing, son? This is a difficult time. I said, Mom, do you remember 2 years ago, I said, I want to get rid of all this debt. And she said, yeah. I said, yeah. When that house forecloses, they're going to get back. That's going to wipe off 500, 600,000. I said, they're going to take that car. That's going to knock off the 15 that was left on that. And I said, and just like that, Mom, I'm debt free. And she said, I said, Mom, my mentality is this. When there's an explosion, you have two choices. You can die in the rubble, or you can disappear within the smoke and reappear anew. That's what I did. I reappeared in a small 800 square foot apartment. I went from 8,000 square feet house to 800 square foot apartment. And I started doing what? Working on a new album. And it was an album called Exist. That got me a new deal. That's when I really started trying to get back into painting again. But those are the things that got me through. It's my creative things, my gifts always make room for me. It carves out these very unique spaces for me. So I can't ever give up on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm in partnership with my creativity.
Hi, I'm Tanya, and this is Julie, and we are the founders of Coach Core, your all-in-one solution for building and scaling a successful coaching business.
At Coach Core, we provide you with everything you need in one place. You can house your courses, manage memberships, run email campaigns, and create stunning websites and funnels, all with our easy-to-use platform.
And it's not just about the software. We offer built-in coaching and mentorship, helping you implement best practices from certified NLP practitioners and story brand coaches. And that's just scratching the surface of what's inside.
And that's why we're excited to sponsor the Entrepreneurial Elevation podcast with Kelly Beveridge. Kelly is a thought leader who inspires and elevates entrepreneurs worldwide.
We believe in the power of community and continuous learning, and this podcast is a fantastic resource for any coach looking to truly grow their practice.
So join us on this journey. Tune into the Entrepreneurial Elevation podcast for insights and inspiration, and visit Coach Core to transform your coaching business today.
Coach Core, your path to coaching success.
Thanks for sharing that part of your story, because like I said, my audience is entrepreneurs, and it's about, I always say to everybody, it's about playing the long game, right? And look at what you just went through, like at the peak of your fame and your success. And then you have this explosion And like you said, you
Yeah.
picked yourself up and kept going again. Maybe talk a little bit about that. I'm curious, when you were at the height of your fame, did you become addicted to it? Did it start to overshadow like your humble beginnings of believing in yourself and why you were doing it? Or did you have a healthy relationship with your success?
I had a very healthy relationship with success because there was always an element with me that I was very leery of fame. I never wanted to be famous. I wanted to be successful at being a great songwriter and producer. That was really it. The artist thing, once I got a taste of that, I was like, I really appreciate this because I appreciate the service that it provides for people that listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, no. It was one of those things where, man, sometimes I get off into this space of this other train of thought. What was the other part of the question?
No, that's okay. I was just curious how fame shaped you. Like if you always had a healthy
Oh, you asked
relationship
about
with it?
you asked about my relationship with it. I didn't believe the hype.
Yeah.
So you know how like when you hear about a movie and they say like, oh, it's the movie of the year. We're like, according to who? Nobody saw the movie. So I never believed the hype that, oh, I was better than this person and any of that. I never had an entourage. I always kept people that knew me and loved me around me. I traveled alone most of the time doing these gigs, and my band would meet me in these places. So I always had a really healthy attitude. I just didn't, because I always felt like fame is a drug, and fame is also something that the audience gives you. It's not something that you create. Fame is created by money and exposure. And if you don't have control over it, you don't have a life. So I always had control over it because I never hired security. I always walked around amongst people because I'm like, yo, I'm a human being. I just have an extraordinary talent. And so I always did that so that I could always go wherever I wanted to go. Yeah, people recognize me here and there, but it was nothing crazy because I never had anything around me that said I'm insecure.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm very secure. If I felt concerned that someone was going to try to do something to me, I'd just have some of my brothers with me. I have 3 brothers. All of my brothers are bigger than me. So I'm just like, no, because they'll protect me whether they get a check or not. So it was always very healthy, even down to the point when I would meet people, I wouldn't even introduce myself as Toni Rich. They'd be like, what's your name? My name is Antonio. Oh, what do you do? I would say something like, I'm a creative or I'm a poet. That's true. But I wouldn't, because I just didn't like to lead with that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm Toni Rich, Grammy Award winner. Look, people ask me still to this day, where you keep your Grammy? In the closet. It's in a glass case covered in the closet. Why? Because I don't need to see that. That was never my motivation in the first place. I didn't know I was going to win a Grammy until I found out that I was nominated.
Yeah.
So I've always had a very, very healthy attitude. It's like I'm a head in the clouds, feet on the ground type of person. I'm realistic, but I'm optimistic. And so therefore I know that, yes, I'm going to create my future always, but I got to walk in it. It's like when you're gifted, you still have to practice. And so it's an everyday thing of creating life.
Yeah. I love your message, right? Because I think when people achieve success, whether it's how you achieved it through being a musician in your craft, entrepreneurship, whatever, yet your message is awesome. Staying humble and just staying the course. And I think that's probably why you were able to bounce back the way that you did. Because your head was in the clouds with what you believe about yourself here. Your feet were on the ground. And I'm curious because as you're speaking to, I'm thinking your journey sounds so much like an entrepreneurial journey. And being a musician, we were talking about earlier how you love to have your different crafts within the creative space because you wanted multiple sources of income. What have you learned about entrepreneurship throughout your career?
What I've learned about entrepreneurship is that you always maintain more control, and being a creative, that's very important. To be able, because something you create is like, it's like a child, right? And you want to protect it. It's very different than like if I just go and I just create some business to sell some product. No, when I create songs, that comes from my soul, right? When I'm doing art, that is coming from my soul. And so even now in the art space, I'm making some really great traction with art. It's just all about, my challenge at this point is, okay, as an entrepreneur, how do I transfer the value of what I've done musically to the art space? And what it taught me was like, okay, number one, I have a recognizable name. So all I'm doing is adding another element to my brand. It's still under creativity. That's why my new company is called the Toni Rich Creative. It's because under that umbrella of creativity, it's whatever I create. And what I've learned is, okay, you have to stay the course. At the end of the day, everything is on you. There's going to be ups and downs. Through the music, like all the time I've spent in the music business, I've never made the exact same amount of money every year. Some years, 700,000. Another year the next year could be 200,000. It's all over the place. When it comes to art, it's the same thing. It's like this person might want to pay $10,000 for a piece. That person might really want a piece from you, but they might be able to only afford 5,000. And then even when I sit down and I'm going over my product line of my art and or my coming up with my different processes, how I'm going to do this and what about this? And Jen and I will sometimes talk about different marketing ideas and what we can do. Once you become an entrepreneur and you have any success in any industry, it's hard to not want to continue to do that. Who wants to be their own boss and experience what it feels like to see something that you create become successful and then turn around and go work for someone else?
Yeah.
I'm not made like that. Like, no, you're not going to tell me what time I need to get up. No, I can't do that because I work differently. My brain is just like most of my ideas that I come up with is when I'm in the shower, of all places. Something about that water hitting my head, I'll get out of the shower like, now I know what to do with this painting. You know what I'm saying? And it's amazing. Oh, no, now I hear the lyrics. Okay, now that's what it is. And it's like, so everybody has a different formula, but being an entrepreneur, if you can do it, it is one of the best moves to make because you'll feel more productive because you will always have something to do, number one. And you're not micromanaged. You have more freedom, but at the same time, you have more responsibility. And there will be times where you will be more stressed than a person that works for someone else. But it doesn't stay like that. It's like it's these peaks and valleys, and then you just get to a certain, I heard Dave Chappelle say it, and I loved it. He says, find an altitude of success that works for you. And never count another man's pocket. Never compare yourself to what someone else is doing.
Yeah.
Stay focused on what you're doing. Being focused is all about knowing how to say no at the right time.
Yeah.
No, I can't go out. I'm focused. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
No, I cannot talk on the phone. I'm focused.
It could be that simple. It could be that difficult.
Yes, that can make the difference.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm as giggling as you're talking about entrepreneurship because I have a term where I'm just like, I'm psychologically unemployable at this point. Like I'll never be able to go back. And it's true though. I think also as you're speaking, I'm just thinking because we're talking about building self-belief, yet if you can create something in one area, it instills this belief that you're just going to be able to do it over and over and over again. And I think that that's something that creates certainty and clarity and self-confidence such that like, I got me. I know I got me no matter where my peaks and valleys are in the entrepreneurial journey. And I'm curious because your whole career, it sounds like you've been a really amazing and strong advocate for yourself. And where I sometimes struggle and where I see other people struggling is in promoting myself, like self-promotion. And obviously as an artist, that is a huge piece of it. And so I'm just curious your take on self-promotion in your journey, because I'm sure back in the days, and I might be wrong, but I just picture you standing outside clubs handing out tapes, right? Like it's like grassroots style, like at events. Like, did you ever do that? I'm curious. How did you did it?
No, I never did that. Look, I'm the kind of person, it's like, I've never bought a used car.
Yeah.
So people are like, what do you know about cars? I know how to buy and drive it. I don't know.
How did you promote yourself back in the day?
See, when I started my career in music, I was on a major label. They did all that stuff. I was not tasked with that until I went independent. And even still at that point, I hired people that did that. But I understand what you're saying. It's like when someone wants you to, hey, give us a short little blurb about who you are, what you do. Nobody really most entrepreneurs don't really like to toot their own horn, so to speak. But I always say, as a musician, you can toot your own horn. It's an instrument, right? But because who can describe you better than you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just something, if you're not used to doing it, it just feels awkward, right? But some people are excellent at self-promotion. What it is, I found a way to talk about myself and what I've achieved and what I do in a conversational type of way versus in a promotional type of way. You got to sort of like anything that's uncomfortable to do as an entrepreneur, you just got to find your own unique way to do it so that you're not throwing up in your own mouth about it. Like, I feel like I'm bragging about myself. No, you're not bragging. You're just talking about the facts. And sometimes, yes, some people perceive your facts as arrogance or overconfidence, or you're rubbing it in their face. No, you're just telling the truth. So if it's like me saying I'm a Grammy Award winning, like, case in point, my son, my 13-year-old son, he's my baby boy. He's a musician. He plays instruments. Every week he would come home from school, the last school year, he comes home with a different instrument. So this year, he starts 8th grade. I tell his music teacher, I said, Miss Leppy, I said, has he told you what I do in music? She goes, no, he never even said anything, because my kids don't brag about me like that. And I said, I'm going to tell you this just so you can understand why he jumps around on so many instruments. I said, I'm a musician. She goes, oh, really? I said, yeah, but I'm a professional. Oh, really? Yeah, but I'm a Grammy Award winning professional. She goes, oh, no, he did not tell me that. I said, so the reason why he is so interested in so many different instruments because I play multiple instruments. Mm-hmm. So he's just doing what he sees. Yeah. And my son has this confidence like me, but he has it at a much earlier age. He is like unafraid to play in front of people. He's unafraid to sing, dance, or whatever. And I was like, wow, now I'm seeing that he's already, and I'm already teaching him about speaking things into existence. Yeah. And because he lives with me and Jenna, he gets a double shot of that. And for him to experience it from a man and a woman, it's beautiful for him. He gets that really good, like, great balance.
Yeah.
So he's going to be an entrepreneur. I'm certain of it.
I love it, right? Because you're leading by example. And you said that you don't toot your own horn, yet you just play your music. And I think that was a really great message, because it's like, how do you promote yourself? You be your craft, you be the example, you be in integrity with who you say you are and what you're sharing and your message. And that's the best kind of self-promotion. And the cool thing about that is look at the influence it's had even on your children, right? True. And so that's pretty awesome. And that's what I got from what you shared there, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm curious, Toni, what do you think? Because you're a great example of somebody who had a vision, who had a dream, who chose to believe in himself at an early age and stayed the course through all the ups and downs and all around. And if you were to look back, because not everybody does that, not everybody follows through. So my question for you is, what would you have to give back today that you have today that you've created if you hadn't pursued your dream?
What would I have to give back? If I hadn't, I can't even imagine not pursuing my dream. It was never even an option to do anything else. Like once I decided, like, this is what I'm doing, I didn't have a plan B. Or should I say, once I got into the business, my plan B, C, D, E, F, G, or whatever was all in music. It was still in the world of creativity. So when I started to experience different things in the music business that was becoming difficult, I always had art to shift to. I was like, oh, I'll just do this for now until they sort that out. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because I remember when I left Detroit, there was like certain musicians that I used to play with, certain musicians I knew that were 10 times more talented than me. But they made a comment. They said, any one of us could have done that. Meaning as far as getting out of Detroit and starting a career. And I remember my response to that was, you're right, but you didn't. The only difference is that I remember I played keyboards in this gospel group, and I was leaving the group, and I went to the guys they were really good friends of mine. And I said, listen, man, and I have to tell you this other story about those two. I said, listen, I have to leave the group. They said, why? I said, because I'm a musician. I'm not a gospel musician. I have to create music. I'm not tied to one genre. So I leave. I get this is fast forward. This is after I've done my thing. Now I'm established and I have attention of people. And I produced a record on CeCe Winans. And as a result of that, CeCe's brother, Carvin, had this group he was working with called Anointed, and they wanted me to produce songs on them. So I did. And then the label that they were on decided they wanted to talk to me about developing talent for them, which is interesting because I was like, I never imagined professionally doing anything in the gospel music space, but just as a producer, this is one of the deals I was doing at that time. And so they said, do you have any talent that you've developed? And so in my mind, I'm going back to creating the reality. I look at these people with a straight face and I said, yes, I do. They said, really? I said, yeah, it's a duo. And they're called The Word. It's two brothers. The reality was, when I was a teenager, I played in this band called The Word, and it was 4 singers. I was just a keyboard player. But the 2 brothers were best friends of mine. So I said, yeah. I said, yeah, but I hadn't talked to them in a while. I said, yeah, I got this group. They said, really? Wait, do you have any music? Do you have the music done? I said, yeah, I got the music done. They said, when can we hear? I said, look, when I get back to Atlanta, I'll send you a couple of songs. I leave their office. I get on the elevator. I call my 2 friends. I said, yo. I said, what's up? I said, I got y'all a deal. I didn't have them a deal, but I was creating it. They said, really? Who? I said, Word Entertainment. Y'all gonna be on the same label with Anointed. They said, really? I said, yeah. They like, we don't have any songs. I said, I already wrote the songs. They said, really? I said, yeah. I'm gonna fly y'all down over a few weekends. We're gonna knock them out. I hadn't written any songs. I get back to Atlanta. I called my friend Peter. I said, yo, man, I need you to come over. I want you to co-write a couple songs with me. He comes over, writes the songs. I record the vocals. I fly the guys down, record their vocals, send the songs to the label. They said, when can we hear the rest of the album? Did you finish the album? I said, yeah, I finished the album. No, I still have another 8 songs to write. I wrote another 8 songs within a week, got the guys down, recorded. They got a deal. So it's like you create it. And then once everything was done, then I told them how I did that. And they were looking at me like, what? I said, yeah, bro, you got to create it.
Yeah.
I was speaking it into existence and it was hilarious, but I believe in it so much because I know it works.
I'm just loving your story, right? Because you're like, listen, man, this is my vision. I am manifesting it. I am creating it into existence. I'm acting as if, and like you said in the very beginning, everybody in your way is playing a part of your story.
Everybody. It's like when I moved from Australia, I came back and I said, I was talking on the phone with Jenna. Jenna was still in Canada at this time. And me and Jenna had just started seeing each other. And I said, you know what? I went out to, this is during COVID, and I was going out to see her for like 30 days. I get to Canada, they turned me back around. They said, you can't get in. We're not getting, because unless, what is it? What was the thing if it wasn't like something essential? So I was like,
oh yeah.
So they let me stay. They let me stay. This was ironic. They said I couldn't stay, but they let me stay at her house for a couple of days, but they kept my passport until I got back to the airport. So I get back to Atlanta and I'm sitting on my iPad and I was like, where do I want to move to next? Because I wasn't going to move back to Atlanta. Pull out the iPad and I said, I'm going to move to Hollywood, Florida. I just randomly picked Hollywood, Florida. I didn't know anybody in Hollywood, Florida. And then I moved in. I found a place. 7 days later, I moved in. Jenna came down the next day to help me move in. And I was just like, I live here. That became a reality. Then I started like, I started talking about the art thing. Now I'm selling art. And so it's once you start it, it's addictive, where I'm addicted to the understanding that whatever I put out into the universe, I'm going to create. It's going to happen for me.
Yeah.
And no one else has to understand it.
Absolutely.
I worry only about, my only focus is the what, not the how, because when we get into the how, sometimes that's when we're going to screw it up.
Yeah.
Because there might be certain people that need to play a part that you probably otherwise would not ever deal with, but they're going to have something to do with that piece coming together.
Oh my gosh.
And that's why you just focus on the what.
So powerful, Toni. Like, it's just so true. And it's true. Nobody else needs to understand it except for you, and
True.
understand it and believe it and be in action towards it and have the courage to take the steps into the unknown with a full
Yep.
belief that it's all working in your favor and it's on the way.
Mm.
And Toni, and I could ask you to talk forever and share so many
know, right?
stories. I'm sure you just got like tons of stories to share, but I just want to start wrapping up to honor your time and the listeners' time. And
Yeah.
I have a few questions, but before we wrap up, is there any other things that you just want to share? Any last thoughts on just the power of self-belief?
Look, the thing about self-belief, if you don't believe in yourself, it is almost disrespectful to expect someone else to believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect someone to believe in what you are trying to sell them or what you're trying to get them to support? Believing in yourself is loving yourself ultimately. Believing in yourself is knowing that some people running around like, what is my purpose? Your purpose is to be and to create. It's not solely about what you do in life, because it's that whole saying, like, you're either going to be a human doing or a human being. And my whole thing is that I can be so content in just being happy because that's my default setting. Yeah, you'll have things that happen that might be disappointing or whatever, but you have to, I always said one time, I say this all the time now, I will always be more than okay no matter what happens. That's how much I believe in myself, that I don't care what's going on in the world. I don't care what is going on. I am always going to be beyond okay. And when I say that, that means that I do not cap off just how okay I can be, but I know it's going to be more than that. Like the way I live now, I live just as good as I did when I was in the height of all that. And the reason why I say that is because it was never all about all of that. And my whole thing was like, it's simple. I wear one color of clothing, black clothes. Why? It's simple. I don't have to decide like what color. I don't have to be bogged down with that. I don't have tons of pairs of shoes. I take walks. I do functional exercise. I'm a vegan. I love love. And my whole thing is I have no interest in harming anyone. So my belief in myself is so important to me, because it's like, if I have no other job, it's to believe in myself. I can't do anything if I don't believe in myself. If you don't believe in yourself, you can't get up and walk. It's a very important thing. Just self-confidence, walking on this planet, knowing that you are you and you're okay with that. And that's enough for you to be yourself. It's to step up and just do your best and forget the rest.
That's beautiful, Toni. Thank you for sharing. And okay, I have 3 last questions, just short form answer. So my question is, what is your version of success today?
My version of success today is like, I was just talking, me and Jenna were talking about this the other day. I'm sitting like it was yesterday. Me and Jenna and Nine are standing in the kitchen, and Nine's giving her a hug because that's how he heals her. When she's having a rough day in business or whatever, he gives her a hug. He says, can I give you a hug? And she says, yes. I said, son, Jenna ain't ever going to turn down no hug. And then he says to me, come on, Dad, get in here. And then I walk up and I wrap my arms around the both of them. And then Nine says, we love you, Jenna. That's success. Is the fact that the happiness that we all share, because we have all, like me and Jenna came to the table together. We met each other as 2 happy people. And we're sitting there just like, wow, this is success to me, is to be happy, to be content, to know that I'm not harming anyone, to know that I'm not taking advantage of anyone. I'm not hurt. I'm not doing anything to get over on someone just so I can get somewhere. It's like, that's the thing. When you get to a point where you don't have to use or should I say misuse someone to get somewhere, that's success. To know that I don't need fame is success. To know that I can just still create whatever I want to create, that's success to me. To be healthy. Like I went to the doctor and did all my blood work. I haven't been to the doctor in 20 something years. And the doctor was like, man, I go in there. He says, your results are amazing. He tell me about my testosterone levels and all this. I said, that's success. And because many times I heard people like, man, you're a vegan. Where do you get your protein? I said, bro, you'll see. So I brag about those results because I'm like, yo, that's the result of eating plants.
Yeah.
So it's success to be healthy in your mind, in your soul, in your mind, in your body, and just in life in general. That's success to me. It's not about like how much money or your net worth. That don't mean nothing. Yeah. You can't take none of that with you. And you guess what? And you definitely can't use that. I think it's like, it's very incorrect, I think, to a certain degree, to go to someone and say, oh, I'm successful because this is what my net worth is. And then behind all of that, they're on the verge of suicide or something. Like they're depressed. Like you're not successful unless you are very, very extremely happy with the human being that you are and how you are affecting other people. If you're not a positive effect on yourself and others, you're not successful. You failed yourself. You got to love you first. And I know some people are afraid of that because it seems selfish. It is. On a plane, if they feel like the oxygen drop, what's the first thing they say? Secure a mask on yourself first, then help others. It's like you can't, like, if I'm not healthy and if I don't love myself, I'm not confident in myself, I can't be an example for my son. My kids look at me as an example of, wow, I've been through it. I'm confident. At the same time, I'm a human being. I'm real. I feel everything everybody else feel. It's just all about how I process it.
Oh my gosh. I love your answer. I love it. Okay. Last question. My podcast is called Entrepreneurial Elevation, Unleashing Greatness Within. And so what would be 3 things, Toni, you would guide or 3 tips to unleash somebody's inner greatness?
The inner greatness outside of like, okay, visualization is key, right? You have to visualize yourself where you want to be. You got to do that. Speaking things to applying the universal laws of attraction is another key. And don't be afraid to acknowledge your greatness. We all are great. It's just most of us don't believe it. It's almost like that's a concept you can't grasp that you're great. And it could be a lot of factors. Some people have been told that they're nothing. They ain't ever going to be anything. So they grow up thinking that. Whereas other people may have been told that they are and they're flawless. They have their issues because at some point they have a difficulty and can't figure out how to deal with it because they were never taught to do that. It's like I embrace that I'm a human being, but I also know, because Jenna and I talked about this also, we call each other weird. You got to embrace your weirdness. Embrace the uniqueness that makes you you, because that's probably going to be a very important factor of you being successful at anything. But first and foremost, being successful at being the person that you are aiming to be. Be great. You can't be great unless you first believe that you are. Not that you're going to be, but that you are.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Toni, thanks for being here and just sharing so much wisdom from years of experience and working on yourself and stepping into your courage to live out your dreams.
That's my favorite project. Yeah.
That's exactly.
Yeah, my favorite project is myself.
Yeah, I love that. And so just like wrapping up, why don't you just quickly share about yourself? Like, what do you have on the go? What's coming up for you that you would love the listeners to hear about? And I know we're going to put where people can find you in the show notes, but any last things you wanted to share about what you're working on?
Right now, I'm working on a few projects with my fine art. It's like a friend of mine who's a real estate developer. We're doing this. I'm providing art for a lot of these properties that he's building. So that's fun work. And then I'm doing some work with a good friend of mine who is a psychic medium, and she's one of our weirdo friends. I love her. She's doing her book, and so I do music for her meditations, which is really cool. That's been a fun thing where she'll record these meditations and she just sends it in her vocal, and I don't even listen to it. I might listen. What I'll do is I'll listen to maybe 2 or 3 words that she says, and then I stop it, and then I create music, and then I layer her voice in, and then I send it to her. So we're working on like a whole album of that's accompanying her book. But I'm also going to do this. I'm also doing the same thing for Jenna, because Jenna's working on her book as well. And also her helping her shoot her yoga videos and stuff. I'm helping my son develop his music, because my son plays saxophone, flute, clarinet, whatever else. So I'm looking forward to helping him, show him how to do production. And I'm also working on my next album as well. And I have a couple other projects. I have a project going on in Dubai with the studio there. So it's a lot. That's what I love. It's like I always have like a handful of things that I'm working on, but it's all under the umbrella of creative. And the art space is really, really fun. And I have this new series that I'm working on in my art space. So it's cool.
Oh my gosh, it all sounds wonderful, and just like truly continued love, greatness, success to you. Like I said, you've made an impact in my good friend Jenna's life, bringing her love and support. And you made an impact in my brother's life back in the day. You made him feel good listening to your music. You've made an impact in my life and the listeners being on the podcast. And I know you've just made an impact in so many people's lives, Toni, just through simply who you are and following your passions and your dreams. So just thank you for being you. And thanks for being on the call today. Really, really appreciate you.
I appreciate the time.
Oh my gosh. I just want to thank Toni Rich for being on the podcast episode today. Grammy Award winning artist, and just such a beautiful message around believing in ourselves and what we can create and accomplish and feel about ourselves by having rock solid self-belief. And so for all of you listeners, I really hope you got value from today's call and can take a piece of something that he shared to apply to yourself and align with what it is that you desire and what it is that you want. What are your goals and dreams, and how do you adopt this mindset? And by the way, it doesn't have to be over complicated. You can just decide right now, that's it. I'm going to choose to believe that I am worth it, I deserve it, I can do it, and I can be and do and have anything that I desire. And moving forward, I'm going to have unwavering faith in myself. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, right? Or simple. There will be ups and downs and all arounds. Yet if the one thing that remains solid is your belief in you, you will get there. You will do it. And so thank you, Toni, so much for coming on with that message. Love your story, love your shares, and it's really cool to have you on. And then also, as we shared, Toni is married to my good friend Jenna, and she was on an episode earlier as well. So I just want to give a shout out to her. Please go and listen to her episode. It's equally as powerful. And just thanks to the two of you for just who you are and what you do and your contribution. If you enjoyed the episode today, please go and like and subscribe and download and leave a comment, leave a review. And just once again, thank you so much for listening. With love, greatness, and success, it's your host, Kelly Beveridge.